and welcome back to the channel, fool. Thanks for tapping in. Don't forget to share, like, and subscribe with videos like this.
They do not want your children to be educated. They do not want you to think too much. That is why our country and our world has become so proliferated with entertainments, mass media, game shows, television shows, amusement parks, drugs, alcohol, and every kind of entertainment to keep the human mind entertained so that you don't get in the way of important people by doing too much thinking. You had better wake up and understand that there are people who are guiding your life and you don't even know it.
Why is there like a chimney looking thing holding this huge rock and then some random steps in the middle of the woods? Does anybody know what this used to be? There's like a cave under here. Y'all, why the fuck is this thing? For real though? Okay.
The pig souls are trapped inside.
But he was like, I'm going to take you around to the oldest church in Portugal. I said, okay, cool. That sounds interesting. And we went there and we showed up and then we walked in this church. And mind you, we were probably the only black people in there. It was Asians, whites, just all other ethnicities, right? Ethnicities. And we're looking at this statue. I'm like, is this Jesus, bro? And he's like, yeah, it's Jesus. And I was like, I look around, all the people looking, taking pictures and shit. And I'm like, am I tripping, bro? And do he look like me and you? And they don't care? Or am I just bugging? Because I don't see this in where I'm from. I don't see this, bro. Like, I don't see this statue.
Like a black
right
Jesus.
Here. It was black Jesus in the oldest church, bro.
Wow.
And he looked black. I'm not even gonna cap. He looked black. I'm like, he looks like me and you, bro. He don't look like them. And they taking pictures. Do they care? Do they not care? Do they notice it? He like, I see what you see, but
that's
so
very interesting.
That, like, when my mentor was telling me just that stuff about like being overseas and being received different, I'm like, bro, we are. So when I came back here, it was hard for me, bro. That adjustment was hard because you come back to a place where you hate it, basically.
In 2006, something shocking happened on live TV involving the famous Mexican comedian Eugenio Derbez. During a special World Cup broadcast on La Jugada del Mundial, Derbez participated in a hypnosis segment with hypnotist Tony Camo. At first, it seemed harmless entertainment, but things took a disturbing turn when Derbez, under hypnosis, was convinced he was a teenage boy back in school. In the middle of the segment, he became so deeply hypnotized that he lost control of himself and accidentally urinated on live television. The clip caused massive controversy across Mexico. Soon after, the footage mysteriously disappeared from TV for years, which only fueled even more speculation. While some believe it was just an innocent hypnosis stunt gone wrong, others claim it was actually part of a humiliation ritual, a way for major networks to break celebrities and test their obedience behind the scenes. Years later, the footage resurfaced online, reigniting debates about what really happened that night and whether Derbez was exploited for ratings or something far darker.
Hush. Go potty. Hush.
Where?
You need a new dog, a new pole, and a new Ring camera.
What do all entertainers do when they run out of money?
So they masters publishing.
What's the first thing they start looking at?
They publishing. They masters.
They publishing.
Yes. Yes.
Their masters.
Yes.
And all the royalties that I never got.
Yes.
Oh.
Yes.
So Whitney Houston broke the Beatles record.
Yes.
Whitney Houston broke Elvis's record. Whitney Houston is the only black artist ever, not even Michael Jackson, to have 3 certified diamond albums. I Will Always Love You is the highest selling female song in world history. You understand me? Is she broke?
Facts. I ain't never heard.
Whitney was gonna order an audit on her publishing, her royalties, her masters. And there's somebody who couldn't afford that to happen. And that's why Whitney not here.
Yeah.
How do they experience time travel?
These autistic individuals claim to time travel. A lot of these individuals are very precognitive. They'll have experiences of something that hasn't happened yet. One of the best examples is this young woman named Elsa, who was in the telepathy tapes. She had this vision that her father slipped on ice and broke his hip and ended up in the hospital. At the time, they were living in Arizona, and that didn't look like that was a very likely possibility. But then what happened is, within 3 to 4 weeks, he was on a business trip and he slipped on ice and broke his hip and ended up in the hospital.
Now, imagine what the government can do.
This is the Capella Romano, which sounds like a good pasta, also known as the Saturno, which is homage to the black sun deity Saturn, which is also known as Moloch, Baal, or Demiurgos. Here's an image of Saturn, worshipped by the Roman pagans, Babylonians, and Canaanites prior to Christianity, wearing these Saturno hats. Saturn is always seen with a child in his arm, not because he's a good caretaker, but because in mythology he would eat his own children. Now, I'm not saying the Pope is the highest authority in the world, although it has been stated by the papacy that all on earth are subjects of the Roman Pontiff. Think of the Pope like the president in America, an authoritative head for the real machine working behind the scenes, which ironically in both cases is the Vatican. Let's examine the emblem of the Holy See, or the Vatican, where first we'll notice 2 large intersecting keys, one blue and one black. You're crazy if you see something different. These keys are said to represent the temporal and spiritual power of the Pope. If you believe your online movements are being tracked or that we live in a surveillance state to any degree, then you should be familiar with the NSA, whose emblem boldly shows off that silver key of the papacy. And for those saying it's a coincidence, let's examine an article published back on the NSA's website in 2004, which has since been removed, though we have access to it archived. It says, the dexter and sinister talons of the bird clutch a silver key. The key in the eagle's talons, representing the key to security, evolved from the emblem of St. Peter the Apostle and his power to loose and to bind. It also symbolizes the mission to protect and gain access to secrets. St. Peter was the first pope. Here's that same emblem of the Holy See compared to a sigil from the Lesser Key of Solomon, a grimoire centered around communication with demons. In 2007, there was a leaked document explaining symbols used by child enjoyers to distinguish preference. And I can't speak to the validity of this document. I'm not omnipotent, although I'm close, but I still feel compelled to show you and let you use your own discernment. As we can see here, this symbol is present on various versions of the Pope's wardrobe. Probably, like everything, more coincidence. It's a world full of coincidences.
There's no 13th floor in any hotel in America.
What?
Pay attention. There is no 13th
That's
floor.
such bullshit.
I'm serious. Google it right now. Chat, Google it.
Yeah. It's true.
They take that floor away from every hotel.
Why?
Because it's demonic. Because it's just bad luck. Tons of people have died on that floor in the 80s and 90s.
That's what you call good vibrations.
The guy that got caught, George Zinn, check out the odds of this shit, bro. Okay? The guy that was immediately arrested after the shots were fired, and he was the first suspect that they picked up.
conspiracy theorists out there. I don't want you going crazy. But what are the odds that George Zinn, the patsy that was arrested at the Charlie Kirk assassination, also saw 9/11? He saw the planes fly into the buildings and called that in or reported it. And then he also called in a fake terrorist attack at the Boston Marathon bombing. And just so happened to get arrested at Charlie Kirk's event. So Tess Keyser, she responded to this tweet and she says, Grok is a guy really involved in all three events like this post claims. And Grok fact checks it and goes, based on a review of multiple sources, George Zinn was a witness to the 9/11 attacks, and he described seeing planes hit the towers. He was also arrested in 2013 for emailing a bomb threat joke to the Salt Lake City Marathon shortly after the Boston bombing. He pled guilty to a terrorism charge and somehow magically only received probation. He was also detained and questioned as a person of interest at the Charlie Kirk assassination on September 10th, 2025, but released without charges relating to the shooting. Then Grok went on and made sure that it told you there is no credible evidence that supports claims of his involvement in 9/11's false flag, facilitating Kirk's deaths, or Mossad ties. The main suspect in Kirk's killing is now Tyler Robinson, and he is in custody. So I asked Grok to break this one down for us, and it says so, and it wouldn't give me an answer first. It said it's impossible to calculate. Well, I said use statistical probability and give me a ballpark stat on the probability of him being at all three major events. And it goes through here and it breaks it down. And we get down here to the very bottom where it combines the probability right here, combined probability. And it says it is equal to 0.705% or 5 times 10 to the power of 8. That translates to approximately 1 in 2 billion. Does all of that seem normal to you?
Very strange. Very, very strange.
All you conspiracy theorists.
The chances are very odd.
So if they ever had dirty water coming through their pipes and it was undrinkable, they would rest copper in it to purify the water. Even old age pools, they would put copper in them to prevent any bacteria from building up and spreading. And it would keep the water crystal clear all year round before chlorine even existed. Not only that, but the mineral content of the water would increase massively, which people would then absorb when they were swimming. And that's one of the main reasons they replaced copper with chlorine, because we know that copper has profound benefits and chlorine is actually one of the most toxic things you can absorb. And that's another reason why they're pulling copper pipes out of houses and replacing them with plastic pipes, because they don't want you to get that benefit that the copper's going to give you when the water comes into contact with it. They used to have massive water fountains that anybody could drink out of because the copper was purifying the water. Gutters in houses were made from copper, and people could safely drink rainwater, which is another reason they banned you from collecting rainwater, especially when you would collect it in copper, because the copper was also structuring the water electrically, increasing the hydration levels of the water as well. And so ever since after World War II, copper and the use of copper has been decreasing in water for these very reasons.
Per each was already a bad sign.
So what they've done is through the injection, they put nanobots in the form of graphene oxide and hydrogel into your bodies. And you literally, as these interface with the brain cells, this causes you to become a receptor, a receiver, and a transmitter of signals. And these can be picked up externally, and externally you can be manipulated. And this is what DARPA has done, the Defense Advanced Research Project Agency of the Defense Department. They're working on mind control of soldiers by implanting them with graphene oxide. This is well documented in the scientific journals, and there's companies that, like in brain neuroelectronics, which uses graphene oxide to interface with the brain to create a receptor and a transmitter to be able to control people's behavior. That's where we're going. That's transhumanism.
They have now actually created a term for fully vaccinated and fully boosted people. They're now calling them homobiogenesis, homoborggenesis, instead of Homo sapiens.
Homoborg's like a cyborg.
Like a cyborg, B-O-R-G, homo, Borg, Genesis. So the new creation of a Borg type of group of people that we can move them into the transhumanism movement and hook them up to the Internet of Things and to the Internet of Bodies, and we can train them to be androids. And then the people that survived it but got really, really sick.
These are entities that are here on this earth, that have been on this earth, that who knows how long, and that we, you know, we think they're coming in from way out. Maybe they did millennia ago, but they're here and they're in these deep water areas. And that's why, I mean, like we say, we know more about the face of the moon than we do what's going on there. And we have a higher propensity of sightings around these 5 or 6, I believe, deep water areas. And so to me, it just, it creates a question there. And then when we have naval personnel telling me that we have these sightings and that there's these underwater craft they're chasing that are doing hundreds of miles an hour, and the best we've got is something that does maybe just a little under 40 miles an hour. So I got a lot of questions about that stuff, and I mean.
No way in hell it tasted good even with lime.
It was projecting its consciousness, and when that biofield descended down upon her, afterwards, burns, marks, and subdermal scarifications, sigils, my friend.
So you're talking about a human practitioner. Wow. Do you think that she woke up and said she was abducted by aliens?
That's the mask.
So it's a psyop. The idea of the alien is a psyop for what's actually happening.
100%. 100%. When we're talking about even like the incubi cases, right, of hybridization in ufology, what we're seeing now is even the babies that aren't being taken, when they are born, they are being born to the point of ritualization. Or like, even if it wasn't successful, the way they dispatched
was a ritual
itself. Was ritual. We didn't know this, right? This was what the Collins elite were doing. They knew all of this stuff, but a lot of the pieces weren't being put together like it is today. In the phenomenon doesn't want this out, but Dr. Carla Turner had a case of hybridism, and it was basically the homunculi ritual.
Jeez.
Where when it was born deceased, it was a hybrid, but the phenomenon, and this is crazy, but when they did memory regression with this experiencer, she said, well, I didn't remember I had a birth. She's like, I just went and had surgery or something. And they found like after birth, scarification in my body and scar tissue. I didn't know what happened. She goes, it wasn't until memory regression that I realized that, yeah, I was visited by an entity. The phenomenon had me place that hybrid into a jar, a glass jar. Hello, liver vacay. Hello, right? And bury it in the forest. And Dr. Turner's like, well, that's a very strange thing. What's going on here? That too is a part of a ritual. So the phenomenon, again, almost performing rituals on one dimension. And we're seeing the result of it here. And so the experiencers are essentially a part of these rituals. And the phenomenon doesn't want it out. It's literally removing these portions of their memories from their life. When Dr. Turner's son began being abducted, he went to her and said, Mom, I realized, like you said, this has been happening to you. It's starting to happen to me. So she calls her ex-husband, his biological father. We need to have a family meeting, right? I'm still dealing with my abductions and helping people, but don't come after my babies, right? That's a whole nother level of malevolence. So they had a family meeting, and out of nowhere, Her husband looks at her and says, yeah, don't you remember when you got pregnant and it wasn't us? No. Yeah. You said an entity took you, impregnated you, and you lost the baby. You woke up. We just threw all of the covers out and started from scratch. You don't remember that? I had no idea it even happened.
Sounds like a death party.
Why are they lying about Charlie Kirk? Why is it when they pulled Charlie off right and rushed him to hospital, did these guys decide to come straight in the tent, start pulling things down, moving cameras, standing on the chair that Charlie was sat on, and contaminating the whole crime scene? Then Bill Ackman, one of Charlie's biggest donors, gave the FBI $1 million for a reward to whoever identified the shooter. And now that money is going to the alleged shooter, Tyler Robinson's dad, because he is a good dad to turn in his son. They've now released the texts between Tyler and his roommate after he shot Charlie, a smart 22-year-old man with no criminal history and no history of violence, is hiding in the woods, watching the police all around, trying to get his gun back, which he just used to successfully kill the first man he has ever shot from long distance over a giant crowd, on the first try, and typing perfectly coherent full sentences with punctuation detailing his crime in text messages on his phone to his lover. Wow. What a lucky break for the investigators. Not to mention the old man who bought the shooter time to escape. Why was he even there? The whole thing feels way too weird. What's your take?
Tell me that's not creepy. It's like not even moving. And he's been there for like 6 minutes. I'll go on top and see if I can see him better. He's just standing there. It's not really moving. Backing up now, it's weird.
So like, I'm like walking to my car, I just put my son in my car, and then I'm on like on the floor and I'm like, what the heck, is that mine? And I look at my key, but it's not mine. What a freaking coincidence. And it literally looks like the same exact thing as mine too. That is crazy. They found a glitch in the matrix, whatever you call it, matrix.
And she's been overthinking too much. Just run. El señor de la noche no comía noche.
Oh, hey, no, I'm so sorry. Well, you can put the cuffs back on, that's fine. I don't give a I'm not gonna hurt anybody. I'm here to talk, okay? And if I'm here to talk, I'm here to tell you that I don't think this is a gang-related thing, okay? I don't believe that for a second. I was in there. My buddy Crusader was in there with me. We both saw the writings on the wall. We know that this is related to some religious practice. We know that there were writings related to that grove. One of the bodies had flowers stuck in its eyes, man. Finger jammed in its
And touching the sign like it's someone's gravestone.
Very clear image of Tyler Robinson, allegedly taken, I'll say allegedly for safety here, but it's looking right according to my timeline, allegedly taken at 6:38 p.m. at a nearby Dairy Queen. Here is that photo that we can show you. Just take a look at this photo. What is wrong with this picture? A lot is wrong with this picture. First and foremost, 6:38 p.m., you just shot someone. You have gone through great pains to hide your face, to change your outfit. But wait, you didn't fully change your outfit, did you? I'm looking at this photo, and you're wearing jeans and you're wearing the maroon shirt. Now we have a 50-50 combo of the outfits. And now you're showing your eyes and you're not fearful at all that you might be recognized. Also, wow, you must have quite the stomach. You don't have a record. Next thing you know, you shoot someone and you're like, I'm just going to go have a meal. You don't seem to be too shaken or too upset. Something problematic is the location, by the way. We mapped this out. It's about 15 minutes away from the campus at a time when we're told that he's idling by, babysitting the rifle. So you can see, we're showing you, it's about a 17-minute drive away from the campus. So there should be a lot of footage then of this Dodge Challenger driving back and forth. Okay. And like I said, the biggest thing that jumps at me is he looks kind of content there. So he's got to be a full-blown psychopath, wearing half of what the feds told us he was wearing in the morning and half of what the feds told us that he was wearing during the shooting. Okay, so why did he text in this exchange at all and say that he changed outfits? When you just said, I changed my t-shirt, if that's the reality, you just changed your t-shirt and that was enough? Was it just a t-shirt that he changed? The outfit, again, as I sensed yesterday, has always been problematic. I feel the outfit was the Fed mistake. It never made any sense to say that he wore an outfit onto campus, light khaki shorts and a maroon shirt, and then decided to completely change hours later. Because why wouldn't you just change the t-shirt? That actually makes more sense. Every kid wears blue jeans.
Who is the most surprised and confused?
None of it adds up. The kid who allegedly shot Charlie Kirk from the roof, that's a decoy. They want us to believe that with over 2,000 security HD cameras at their disposal, plus the close-up footage from the Turning Point USA team, all they can give us are some grainy images and faraway shots that don't make sense. We already know that anything that comes out of the media is a lie, so why do we even bother? Obviously, we want to catch the killer, but I believe he's just a trigger man. The real killers are the ones who gave the order and then fabricated this long, complicated plot to control the narrative. They're gonna say he was a lone gunman, he was trouble, he was on antidepressants, and that's where it stops. Just like they did with most political assassinations. I think we all know who did it and why. When you're becoming a threat to the power structure and you can't be bought, blackmailed, or threatened, then we know what's next. But if we want to see a positive change in this world, we need to 1, stop being fearful of speaking up, and 2, look at everything that's owned and controlled by these evil forces and stop being their client.
What's your name?
I had recently had a conversation with a doctor of divinity. We're talking. I said, okay, then, what was your thesis on? She goes, evil spirits. I said, okay, did they ever talk about sigils? So even the church world, in many ways, right, completely blinded to this phenomenon.
Oh, yeah.
And that's not a rebuke or anything. I'm just saying that the depth of this darkness, it would be almost unbearable to some. I'm talking to this doctor of divinity, right? And I can't disclose a lot of it, but how did you get in contact with my work? Like, what about it did you connect with? And she said, it was a sigil. I said, okay, what happened? She said, well, she goes, I signed an NDA, a non-disclosure agreement with a hip hop artist. And she goes, out of nowhere, I get this phone call from a friend. And next thing I know, I'm at this hotel and I go into this banquet room and here comes this artist. And she's like, he goes, I had to perform these rituals in order to get my music and my songs. And he's like, and at first he's like, it was just a ritual. I didn't think anything of it, whatever. I'll sign a check. He's like, but next thing I know, some things started manifesting to me and through me. He goes, and by the way, here's the huge, by the way, what are these on my back? Pulls his shirt off and there's sigils all over his back.
Whoa.
Yeah, that's what we're dealing with. And it's infiltrated in the entertainment. It's infiltrated, virtually everything. Yeah, and that's why I'm here today, Tony. Somebody's got to make a stand.
Yeah.
Not that we haven't already done that, but we have to do it with the data.
Yeah.
Right? It's one thing to believe it. It's another thing to say, listen, it's being corroborated by people who don't even believe in this stuff. And they got here, again, like the scientists in the 70s. They got here by virtue of the scientific method. Right? Of course, I could pull out T. Whitney Davies' books on demonology in the ancient Near East and say, well, yeah, it seems like they're inducing people into trances. It's another thing for them to say, hey, no, man, we put a brainwave monitoring unit and we captured the theta brainwave activity. Yeah, they're absolutely doing that to people. That's what gets me so passionate, because I've been a lifelong experiencer, and it's no longer a figment of our imagination. It's not just a belief. This is actually happening. We have to answer for that. But my point to you was, so the phenomenon will create simulants to appear a part of our reality, but it's not. And so it's doing that also not just with cryptids and ghosts, but even some of the, quote, demons we're witnessing in the field aren't even biblical at all. They're just, again, right, creations and constructs where the phenomenon can masquerade as horns and hooves until you engage it.
When people ask you, what's the scariest thing you have to do in your job? Oh, I don't know. You're not scared, are you? You go first. Cooper. Cooper. Cooper.
If Cooper is not going, I'm not going either.
Who the heck is this? Go on, tell me. I'll give you 5 seconds to guess who this is. I'm waiting. This isn't who I remember, you guys. Who the heck are you, lady? I don't think so. Any guesses yet before I expose one of the dozens of 2.0s in Hollywood? You guys are messing with people's eyes and their brains. How are we going from Adele's little sister to this? What's going on, guys? I really feel like we're in the Twilight Zone right now. Are these the same people? How are they reversing age, you guys? She looks younger here than she did a decade ago. How? Another thing that's bothering me is, why are all these celebrities channeling the 1950s? What was happening in the 1950s? I first recognized it when I saw Shania Twain 2.0, who used to look like this, by the way, acting like a Stepford wife, guys. Completely robotic. And then we had the Kate Beckinsale 2.0, who used to look like this, by the way, showing up at an event looking like a 1950s ballerina. What's happening? Jessie Murph, 1950s style. Sabrina Carpenter, 1950s style. They're all channeling the 1950s style. And if you were to put Kesha, Paris Hilton, Meghan Trainor, Sabrina Carpenter all in the same outfit, you wouldn't be able to tell them apart. I mean, with Kesha, it makes sense because she was Paris Hilton's little discovery in 2005 on The Simple Life, if you don't remember. But how they got Paris Hilton to go from this to that, mind blown. What is going on in Hollywood, and how are we going from this to this? I need answers immediately.
Who is that?
Look, I joke a lot, right? But look, LeBron dunks the ball. LeBron, right? Who is this? That's LeBron. Who is that? Who is that? Look at this. Look at this. You trying to tell me that's LeBron right there, right? Who is this? Right there, look. Right there. Who is this? I'm gonna bring it. Eating popcorn.
Is the clone James?
A story that makes me believe 100% that I was a part of a hybridization program. So in this particular moment, it was in Oviedo, Florida, and it was nighttime. The memory starts, I'm holding my son's hand, I'm in the driveway, we're both looking up, and there's a massive, massive UFO in the sky. It was a darker, metalish color. It didn't look man-made at all. It did have indentations in it in which light was coming out of it, and there was a mist coming off of it, like a purplish, velvetish mist that kind of sparkled and sprinkled down. I just remember going from seeing this massive UFO in my driveway to walking down a long hallway. Now, it felt like the hallway went forever. It was well lit. It was almost like atmosphere. I don't know how the light got there. It was just lit. It looked almost 3D printed. And we was walking down the hallway. Now, I'm holding my son's hand, and to the left of me is a very tall being. It was about Shaq height. I'm 6'1", and it dwarfed me. It looked identical to a gray. It's just a smaller head and a way longer neck. I was holding his hand. I just remember about the hands. It just drives me crazy. It's how it wrapped around my whole hand. Those fingers, man, they wrapped all the way to the back of my hand and around. But the weirdest thing is I'm standing next to this being and I'm not scared. There is no fear going through my body. I remember looking up at it, and this is the best way I could explain it. I do it all the time. It looks at me like this. Like the way it tweaked his neck to look back down at me, the way it curved his neck to look down at me, it was just, to this day, it still creeps me out. And I just remember looking down, being okay with it, and my son walking with me and holding his hand was another tall gray. So now we're walking down this hallway, and we come across what I know to be a two-way mirror now, but at the time it just looked like a window. What I see when I look inside this window is, it looked almost like a lobby of a children's hospital. You know how they put murals on the wall, kind of like a bear in a conga line with a bunch of other kids, and then a tiger at the end. And there was some toys in the corner. There was a circular rug and a rocking chair on top of that rug. So as I'm looking at this, one of the grays grabbed my son and gently walks him into this room in which I'm looking into. My son almost already knew what to do, which was weird. My son literally just walked into the room and sat Indian style in the right side of the corner. I can see an archway in the back right side of the room, and in that archway, some kids start walking in. And they walked in and they just didn't look human. The eyes gave it away. The very small ears, the little petite mouth, and the big eyes give it away. It wasn't big black eyes on these kids. They were like, some of them were blue, green eyes. You could see the whites in their eyes, and you could see the pupil. And the hair was very thin, very frail. And they had almost like hospital gowns that look like gauze. And they sit in Indian style and they form a circle with my son. One of the beings bring like a white feather or like a white material paper or something. It was just white. And they're starting to just making it float without touching it. So it's kind of like they're playing catch, but they're not touching the item. So I guess they were like practicing or teaching my son telekinesis, is what it felt like. They were just having fun playing. I'm wondering why I'm watching this, but I'm totally fine with it. Then the gray grabs me by the hand and walks me into the same room and sits me right in the rocking chair. It was a mirror, and I can see whatever was behind me reflecting off the mirror. I'm staring, that's how I knew it was a two-way mirror. And I'm staring at it. In the mirror, I could see this hybrid lady come in. And she walked in and she handed me a baby. And I just remember looking at her, noticing she wasn't human, but she was very kind. It wasn't like, here's a baby. It was more like very gentle. Everything's very gentle. So she gives me this baby, and then it gives me a bottle. And I'm looking at the baby, and I'm noticing the baby is just very pale. The eyes were really black, but really almost sunk in. The hair was really like dead, almost looking gray. These were grays, like they had the gray, the complete black gray eyes, like the hybrid grays. The kids had human-looking eyes. It was almost like they wanted me to give it love and feed it. Like, how do you nourish it? How do you make it live? And I just remember seeing the gray watching me do it. And it's just intensely like, almost like it's learning. I get the sense of connection that is mine. I felt like they were like the only person that could give this thing love is his parents. Like it's his father, it's his connection. Maybe it's dying, like the dad's not here to comfort it and show it love and make it live, make it want to live. I have the sense that this is my baby. It's mine.
And that's a wrap on this episode, fool. I hope you enjoyed it. If so, don't forget to hit and smash the like button for me, smash the subscribe button, be part of the family. Remember, stay woke, and I'll catch you next time.